Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for locking in on KPJZ 95.3 Jams. Of course, I am your girl, Mountain Moving Monica, right here on KPJZ Mountain Moving Monica Radio Talk Show, where we talk about people, politics, and purpose. Guys, this is an interesting show today because on this Mountain Moving Monday, we've been talking about all the hot topics that's going on across the state of Texas, Fort Bend County, Harris County, redistricting. And so I'm going to just plug this right now. Shout out to our very own KPJZ 95.3 Jams, Mimi Money. Mimi went down to the Capitol and spoke before our state leaders to address the redistricting, how unfair it was, the injustices are being done, the gerrymandering against Black and brown communities. And so we definitely want to give her a huge shout out to being a voice, an advocate, and speaking up for the people in the community that can't speak for themselves, that can't travel to Austin. And it's such an important time in our lives right now to have these younger generation of leaders stepping up to the plate to speak out and understand the issues that are going on and to speak up. So we definitely want to give a personal shout out to our very own 95.3 Jams, Mimi Money, for doing the doggone thing. So we really appreciate you so much. Continue to, be a great voice, be a great advocate, Mimi, and continue to represent 95.3 Jams and your brand, Mimi Money. So as we continue to talk about this particular subject matter, redistricting, at the 1 o'clock hour, we're going to have none other than State Representative Ron Reynolds. He's a long-term advocate. He's a fighter for the Democratic Party. He is a leader in the Black Caucus, in the legislative. He's the youngest, yet the most popular, and the biggest advocate that we have in Texas right now, fighting for bills, fighting for equity, and fighting most of all for his constituency across the state of, District 27 and, of course, the state of Texas. And so you'll hear from him shortly. He'll be calling in to 95.3 Jams because he is out there still fighting. Even though he is not in the session, he's still out there fighting. And so many of you know that State Representative Reynolds chose to break quorum and stand up for the people and for the rights of his community, his district, as well as the state of Texas. And so you're going to hear from him at the 1 o'clock hour to talk about what's going on with the state and how it impacts your community. And so while I have your ear, while I have your visuals, I want to tell you guys, and this is more of a chastisement, so don't get mad, but this is what happens when people don't vote. You get leaders who will do what they want, when they want, and how they want, and to whom they want to do it to. Hey there, Donna. Thank you so much for locking in right here on KPJZ 95.3 Jams, the Mountain Moving Monica Radio Talk Show. Appreciate you so much. Appreciate you so much for getting the word out about redistricting, environmental issues, and everything. So make sure that you post and comment and put your information about the next advocacy, the next meeting for the environmental issues. And so thank you so much for being such a loyal fan right here on Mountain Monica Radio Talk Show. So guys, the chastisement is, this is what happens when you don't vote. Okay, so many people across this, Fort Bend and Harris County, and then of course state of Texas, in this nation, don't vote. They don't see the purpose, they don't see the reason, they don't see the importance of it, and therefore what happens is when you don't vote, you got stuff like this going on. You got craziness, you've got foolishness, you've got fighting going on with our leaders. You've got Democrats against Republicans and Republicans against Democrats, and you've got community leaders and, people standing up. There's so much going on right now in this nation, in this state, in our counties, and in our cities, and still people don't vote. And so I'm going to say it right now. When you don't vote, you have chaos. When you're not a part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And this is what we're getting right now. And so you have 20% of the people standing up for and doing like 80% of the work and standing up for 100% of the people. That does not balance. You as a resident, if you live in this country, if you live in this state of Texas, if you live in Harris County, Fort Bend County, if you live in the city of Houston and the surrounding areas, Missouri City, Sugar Land, anywhere in Fort Bend County, you should be voting. Because when you don't vote, chaos happens. Areas of concern and communities of concern are impacted. Everybody needs to be a part of the problem. Excuse me, everybody needs to be a part of the solution when there's a problem. Not reactive, but proactive. And so I really want to urge you guys to be paying attention right now. We got off the phone earlier talking about redistricting out there in Fort Bend County and what's been going on. And we'll be having our Texas state legislator, who's done a phenomenal job out there in the state of Texas in Austin, State Representative Ron Reynolds, who's going to be calling in today to talk about what's going on in the state of Texas, as well as what's going on with this redistricting and all of the other issues that he, is going to tag it on. So make sure that you guys stay tuned for that. Furthermore, I just really want you to understand the importance of getting registered to vote. This show is about people, it's about politics, and it's about your purpose. And so as it relates to people, you got to get involved. What is, politics impacts everybody, because your leaders, whether they're local leaders, county leaders, state leaders, congressional leaders, federal leaders, they all have an impact, on you. And so your purpose is to be a part of what's going on in your area, what's going on in your community, and of course, what's going on with your elected officials. So I'm so happy that we've got none other than State Representative Ron Reynolds on the line. He's calling in. He's going to tell you a little bit more about what's going on, where he's at, what he's doing, and why he's doing what he's doing. So I want you guys to really, tag into this show, share it a little bit later. And we want to welcome to the floor none other than State Representative Ron Reynolds in the state of Texas, House District 27, phenomenal leader and advocate and fighter for the people. Thank you so much, Ron, for jumping on the call today.
Hey, thank you, Mountain Movement, Monica. Thank you for inviting me to be on as a guest. I am so excited, as always. Normally, I'm in the studio with you, so I hate that I can't be there live in the studio, but I can tell you that I am safely out of Texas with some of my colleagues in the House Democratic Caucus. I am in the state of Illinois. We left Texas yesterday via plane to flee the state because our governor is trying to pass a racial gerrymandered map that would disenfranchise particularly Black and brown Texans. They are targeting the 18th Congressional District, the historic 18th Congressional District that was once held by the late, great Barbara Jordan, and most recently Sylvester Turner after Sheila Jackson Lee passed away. And Congressman Al Green of the 9th Congressional District, along with Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia. Those are the 3 seats in the Houston area, and there's also a few seats in the Dallas area that they're targeting as well that are African American and Hispanic. So my colleagues and I decided to take the bold step for the sake of our democracy. We made good trouble. We left so that our colleagues could not have a quorum. You need 2/3 of the members present to conduct business. If 2/3 of the members are not present, then they cannot conduct the bill. They want to bring the bill to the floor and rush it through so that they can get it to Governor Abbott's desk, and then they can disenfranchise our district. So we're fighting back the only way we can. We don't have the numbers. We're outnumbered right now, Councilwoman. And so this is the tool in our toolbox to prevent it from happening. So I want everyone to know that I'm going to always fight and do everything that's necessary to stand on the right side of history. I'm going to do everything I can to back down. If our ancestors whose shoulders I stand on to risk being lynched or beating or, you know, crosses in their yards on freedom rides and bus counters. The least I could do is be willing to sacrifice being away from my home and family to break quorum. So yes, that is what we're doing. I don't know how long we're going to be gone, but I do know that this first session ends on August 19th. So my plan to be here is at least until then, if not longer.
All righty. Thank you so much, State Representative Ron Reynolds. I'm getting chills as you're talking because I'm just thinking about the historical aspect of what our ancestors and our foreparents and leaders from the past
Yes.
went through to get
Yes.
us even to this point. And to see us potentially going backwards is definitely, a form of concern. And
Yes.
I know that our listeners and our viewers that are locked in and tuning in can honestly say, really appreciate you. And I will say that I
Oh, thank
appreciate you
you. That means a
because
lot.
we need more people that are willing to stand up, be bold leaders such as yourself.
That's
And
right.
so thank you so much,
Thank
State
you. You
Representative
made
Ron
my
Reynolds.
day. I
Yes.
do appreciate you so much.
Yes, because I know that you guys are making a huge sacrifice. By
Yes.
one, you have to leave your families, you have to leave your
Yes.
jobs, you have to leave your livelihood to
Yes.
make a sacrifice to
That's
go and
correct.
do what is in the best interest of your constituencies across the state of Texas, and of course in your own district. So thank you so much for that fight. We
Yes.
know that this is a critical time in our nation,
Yes, it
in
is.
our
It sure
state,
is.
in our counties, and so let help the people understand just a tad bit of when you're talking about breaking quorum and why you broke quorum to flee the state of Texas so that they can't pass this particular bill. What type of impact would it have on the communities of interest if they were
Yes.
to pass this? I think people need to understand the critical
Yes, they
aspect
do.
of that.
That's correct. So basically what happens is when you do a gerrymander, you're basically allowing the politicians to choose the neighborhoods that they think will better elect them instead of the 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 voters choosing their representatives. So first of all, they got it backwards, right? Second of all, it would mean that you could have, for example, you're in Missouri City, and let's say you're in Hunters Glen, and your neighborhood is next to Hunters Glen A and B. Well, this redistricting, they would have Hunters Glen A in one congressional district and Hunters B right next to you in the same school could be divided in another congressional district, and that's your neighbor. So that causes confusion, and it causes a lot of people to be divided when they have common interests. If you live in a certain area, then you care about your neighborhood public school, but you may have one school that's in one congressional district and another school. In the same neighborhood that's represented by another congressional leader, and so it doesn't bring continuity for the communities of interest to elect the candidate of their choice. And that is one of the problems with this redistricting effort. They are basically have a jigsaw puzzle. There's no rhyme or reason. They're connecting areas to get an outcome. Like what they're trying to do, essentially, I'm gonna make it simple. Trump said he wants 5 seats, new Republican seats, so that the Republicans can hold on to a slim majority that they have in the U.S. House of Representatives. So they're growing districts so that they can draw 5 new Republican seats. And the way they're doing it is packing all the blacks into a one area, which that's what they did with the 9th and the 18th. They packed them into one area, so they lose their strength, so that they couldn't elect 2 congressional members, but now they're electing one, and so that's what they're doing. And then they're taking the other areas that are more Republican from those areas, and then they're drawing those into some other areas that were out there in more rural parts, and making another Republican district. And so what you see is people who are in one area, they may have 2 or 3 representatives, but they're divided by, let's say, for instance, it's an affluent area that's nearby. That area they may cut in that could be more Republican, and they may cut that area in to draw it in. So it's a real slippery slope because it doesn't bring continuity. It doesn't bring. There's a lot of confusion as to who the representative is, and then that representative isn't. If they know that the majority of people in that area didn't elect them, they may ignore their particular issues, even though that's not right. That's the way. That's the way that it is. So it's so important that we have districts where there are common interests, where they can elect a candidate of their choice and not split up neighborhoods and communities because you want to gerrymander them to elect a certain candidate of a certain party. I think that's the part that is first of all unconstitutional when you do it on a racial basis, and it's just wrong.
All right. Those are big words from a big state legislative representative, Ron Reynolds. And I think you've said a mouthful, State Rep, and we appreciate you kind of clarifying that. I think the people need to understand why you guys are making the sacrifice. It's not just you, but it's also some of your other colleagues as well that are being impacted. Right. And I said earlier today about voting. This is what happens when people don't vote in their prospective elections. You know, those numbers are looked upon as, oh, those people are not of interest because they don't vote. And so now we're kind of in this situation where you as a legislator have got to fight for the rights of people, whether they vote or don't vote.
That's correct.
To make sure that you maintain, as you said, continuity. And so for those that don't understand redistricting from the state level, we're talking to State Representative Ron Reynolds. He covers District 27, which mostly is Fort Bend County. But here's what you need to understand. When these legislators are advocating for you, they are relying on you guys to get out there and vote, because voting is data, it's numbers, it counts for something. And along with state representative, other state reps are out there advocating for fairness across not just their own constituent area, but across the state of Texas.
That's correct.
And so, as you mentioned, State Rep, what the, what negative impact that it would make on them. You've talked about the sacrifice. I just want you to share a little bit before you hang up, because I know you've got to get back to work, and what you guys are kind of collaborating on out there in Chicago. But you being gone away from your family, your work, your everything, your whole livelihood for the next few weeks, and can the state call for another special session when you guys return? And if so, how does that impact y'all?
Yes. So I'm glad you asked that. So the governor is the only person by our Constitution that can call a special session. Special sessions are 30 days duration. So once 31 days passes, it expires unless the governor calls another one, which he can. There's no limit on the amount of special sessions he can call. So the long and short of it is that Governor Abbott can call another special session as soon as this one expires.
Okay.
So yes, we anticipate realistically that we will have another special session, even if we're able to successfully run out the clock on this one. We know that Governor Abbott is determined to deliver these 5 new Republican seats to President Trump. And we know that we will likely be right back in another special session starting on August 19th, the day that this one ends.
Okay, real quick, we got a couple of comments.
Okay.
Can you say them out loud?
Of course. Absolutely.
Okay.
Claude Foster asked, who is working on our behalf since we no longer have a supportive Justice Department, especially as it relates to pending court cases?
So that's a different issue. I don't know if State Rep is that's his area of answering, because that's dealing with the Fort Bend County judges out there. They're dealing with a whole nother issue. But the question was in regards to supportive justice departments out there in Fort Bend County.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. So he's okay. So I think he's talking about. I know. I think he's talking about the U.S. Department of Justice
Oh, okay.
through the Attorney General of the United States that is appointed by the President. And the Attorney General of the United States, they're the ones that are working against our interests now because they're the ones that sent the letter to Abbott saying that these districts need to be redrawn. So, first of all, I can tell you that the Attorney General office is working directly with our Attorney General in Texas, Ken Paxton, to disenfranchise Black community. So he's right in that sense. We're under Biden, the Justice Department was suing the state of Texas for racial discrimination. So they did a whole 360. So right now, the representation comes from the NAACP, LULAC, which represents the Hispanic interest. It comes from the ACLU, but there is no Justice Department that is helping us. They're actually hurting us. So those are the only, and then we have hired a private lawyer to represent the House Democratic Caucus.
Okay.
So that is what we're using to fight this racial gerrymandering right now.
Gotcha. Thank you so much, State Representative, for addressing that. Hopefully that answers your question. Mr. Claude Foster, thank you so much for tuning in today. I know we have a former City Council member, Sugarland, Jennifer Lane, asked the question, can affluent areas be considered for Republican areas?
Can affluent areas be considered for Republican areas?
Yeah, it says affluent areas could be Republican. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, they could be Republican or they could be Democrat. It just depends on the way that they redraw these districts. They look at the voting trends. They look at what precincts. They can have different precincts in a neighborhood, and they can have those precincts in a different district than the other one. So they're using the precinct, and then they look at the voting history to determine how those precincts vote. And that's how they're basing these redistricting lines on. It's based on voting history, voting patterns. They look at who people voted for in primaries, in the general election, whether they went Trump or Biden, whether they went for Abbott or, for example, Beto. Those are the data that they have when they're doing these gerrymandering. So they use data based on voting history, which is public record.
Yep. And thank you so much for sharing that, because once again, as State Rep mentioned, it's all data. Voting is data. And he said it, I didn't say it just myself. The State Rep said it himself as well. People that are voting or not voting, they know who are voting. That's public record. Thank you so much for sharing that. So they know who votes Republican and Democrat. They know how many votes went to the Republican Party, how many went to the Democrat Party, how many voted in the primary, where areas, what precincts, all of that is data. So when you're not voting, you're also being a part of a critical aspect of data that can impact you in the future.
That is correct.
So that's why we're in the middle of redistricting and why it's such a critical time right now, and why leaders are making the choices and the decisions and the sacrifices that they're making today. State Rep, before we hop off, because I know you've got to get back to business.
Okay. Thank you so much.
We got one last comment in regards to the redistricting out there in Fort Bend County. Is there any comments that you can add? What are the impacts when Fort Bend County voters who live in the congressional district of Al Green and your district, is there going to be any impact with those redistricting out there in Fort Bend County?
There will. Those districts will be impacted. Those districts will no longer be in the 9th Congressional District. They will be in the 18th Congressional District based on the new proposed lines. There's also some shifting of the 22nd Congressional District by Troy Nels and the 7th Congressional District by Lizzie Fletcher. So there's some shifting based on the maps. The biggest change is the constituents that used to be in the 9th Congressional District, they will now be in the 18th Congressional District.
Okay, so hopefully it answers your question, caller on Instagram in regards to that, because that was a huge one. And so people are just saying thank you so much for the time that you've committed, State Rep. We appreciate you so much.
For you,
God bless, Godspeed.
All
You
right.
guys be safe
Thank
out
you.
there, and
Appreciate
we'll
it.
see you when you get back.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right, guys, you're tuning in right here to KPJZ 95.3 Jams, right here on Mount Monica Radio Talk Show, where we're talking about people, politics, and purpose, right here on this Mountain Moving Monday. Lots of comments, lots of things that are going on with our social media. And of course, thank you so much to both of our callers today that called in today to talk about redistricting from a Fort Bend County aspect and from a state of Texas aspect. State Representative, as you know, along with many of his other colleagues, have left Texas to break quorum and have been welcomed into Chicago, Illinois, with the governor out there. And so we want to pray for all of our leaders, no matter what side of the fence that they're on, because we are in a critical battle right now with elected leaders, whether they're on the Democrat or the Republican parties. Have got to come together and make decisions in the best interests of people. And so every leader who is elected to office is going to make decisions in regards to what they believe is best. And then we also have elected leaders that do what other people may tell them to do. We don't know what's going on, but I can tell you this much. I hope that people's eyes will be open. I hope that you will realize how impactful redistricting is when you don't vote. These are the things that can go wrong. These are the things that can happen when people for 2 years, 10 years, 20 years don't consistently vote in every single election cycle. Whatever precinct you live in, whatever congressional district, whatever senatorial district, whatever state representative district you live in, voting impacts it all. And so I really want to advise you guys to get registered to vote, get out there and vote. And be active, because what's going on right now in Fort Bend County, the redistricting, and what's going on out there in Harris County, redistricting, honestly, I will tell you right now, it's a travesty. It's a travesty, and it's devastating, and it's going to impact the everyday lives of people. So we got a comment coming in.
T. Tom said it's not time to redistrict. It's 18 is not being represented due to passing of former Mayor Turner.
Yes, and so what's going on out there in Congressional District 18 in Harris County is going to impact Congressional District 9. It can impact Congressional District 22, as well as Congressional District 7. So keep your eyes on that, everybody, and pay attention to what's going on. Don't be asleep at the wheel and drive into a curb and then hit a tree. Open your eyes and be alert. Pay attention to not just the news, but go to these meetings yourselves. Talk to your elected leaders yourselves. Get the facts, not the fiction, get the facts. Read the minutes. Go and watch these meetings that are on live, because everything is public knowledge. Just like your voting record is public knowledge, just like your voting affiliation is public record. All of these meetings that are being held are public. If you can't go to them in person, send a representative from your community. Make sure that you're going back to watch the live videos from these particular meetings. There is a lot going on, and I will tell you right now, we are at war. The people are at war with one another. And so until we have people in office, or we have the people that are in office can respect across the lines the body of the people that they are representing, which are the voters, whether you are a Democrat or you're a Republican, you represent everyone when you get into that office, and you have to be sensitive to the needs of the people. At the end of the day, I like to say God is in control. And I pray that all of our elected leaders, from the federal level, from the president to all of the governors across this state, our governor in the state of Texas, our county judges, our commissioners in all of the 254 counties in Texas, especially in Harris and Fort Bend, where I am more sensitive to, because I reside in Fort Bend County, I work in Harris County, I have affiliations in both of those counties. but even down to your local leaders, your mayors, your city council, your school board, people, it is time to be engaged. This world is at odds, and this world is at war with one another. And if you are not a part of solutions and being proactive, all you're doing is reactive, and you're a part of the problem. Get out there. Okay, thank you. Get out there and vote. Get out there, be involved, be engaged, empower yourself, empower your community, empower. If you don't stop that, not the sound effects while I'm trying to be hardcore. But at the end of the day, be a part of something that is greater than yourself. Be a part of something that is greater than just your neighborhood. Remember, there are communities that are being impacted, and what happens in one community can definitely cross the street and impact your community. So if you are not holding your elected officials accountable, don't look at all the cute pictures, don't look at all the sweet little videos, don't look at all that. Look at the facts. Go and fact check. Don't listen to what Messy Molly says. Don't listen to what Joe Blow says. Go check the facts, okay? And listen to what is really going on. Get your information. Be empowered and be a part of something greater than yourself. Be a part of something greater than these elected officials. Be a part of something great. Collaboration, coalitions, working with your elected officials, not being against them, but working with them. And the people who took an oath to hold up the constitutional laws of this state and of God, please do your job and do it right, for the right reasons, for the right people, and for the right timing. That's it. That's all I got to say. God bless y'all. God keep y'all, and God be with us all. Continue to, stay engaged. Lock in right here on KPJZ 95.3 Jams on every single Monday on Mount Moo Monica Radio Talk Show, where we talk about people, politics, and purpose. Thank you, guys. I'm going to log off right now. Thank you so much, Claude, Denise, Donna, Jennifer, everybody that's been jumping on here, Linda Howell. Thank you so much. Hopefully all of your questions got answered. Joyce, Kimberly, and all of our Instagram, Sonia, what's up, DJ? And the Black Art. Just thank y'all so much for jumping in and being a part of the conversation. This is a good way to be a part of our solution. I need you guys to get the word out about educating yourselves about redistricting. As an elected official myself, I went through this when I first got elected. I had no idea about redistricting. I was on council for maybe 30 days and the redistricting process took place. I had to hurry up and educate myself and be knowledgeable so that I would know how to advocate for my constituents and for my community. Because the same thing almost happened to me 3 years ago. So I was almost drawn out of my own area 30 days after I was elected to office. But it took, leaders and people being involved and engaged that were very supportive to kind of help us navigate that. So I can speak from personal experience that redistricting can be extremely impactful in a negative way if it's done wrong. And what you as voters, residents, leaders, precinct chairs, and elected officials and people who have a voice, what you can do is talk to your elected officials that make these type of decisions in regards to redistricting and urge them to be fair, urge them to do the righteous thing, urge them to remember the oath that they took before God and the oath that they took to uphold the Constitution and the laws of the land and to represent the people, whether they are Democrat or Republican or Democrat. It really doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, if I cut my skin and you cut your skin, the same color is going to come out, which is red. It is the blood of Jesus. So you as leaders and people tuned in and locked into this show, we can no longer be divided. We can no longer be at odds with one another, because our livelihood, our future, our children's generation, and our children's generation of leaders are all at stakes. And this is not a party affiliation issue. This is a people problem. And we have a problem with the people that we have in some leadership capacity. And we need to make sure that we are doing the right thing for the right reasons, for the right people. And now is the time to do that. God bless you. God keep you. And make sure you keep it locked right here on KPJZ 95.3 Jams every single Monday on Mama Monica Radio Talk Show, where we talk about people, politics, and purpose every single Monday. I love you. I love you guys. I appreciate y'all so much. God bless you. And I will see you next Monday.